course, today is Friday the 13th, a day that many people consider unlucky. They're afraid of this day. Our web producer, Kimberly Sakamoto, tells us how our phobias could be embedded in our DNA. Kimberly.
Well, Pam, if you put triskaidekaphobia, which is the fear of the number 13, off to the side, what you're left with are some of the most common phobias, many of which focus on things that can be seen as a direct threat to our survival, including the most common type or category of fears, which is animals. Spiders, snakes, and sharks top this list. And some scientists in the field of evolutionary psychology believe that these fears are common because they're embedded in our DNA. For example, more people are afraid of spiders than they are of guns, cars, and airplanes, suggesting an ancient origin to our fears. And one study points out that the triggers that correspond to evolutionary threats are often the most difficult to unlearn.
A phobia is an extreme or irrational fear. It is a kind of anxiety disorder in which the individual has a relentless dread of a situation, living creature, place, or a thing. They're often linked to a frightening event or stressful situation. However, it is not always clear why some phobias occur. Scientists are discovering it could possibly be genetics.
Phobias usually start in children or teens and continue into adulthood. The causes of specific phobias are known, but they sometimes run in families.
New research from Emory University School of Medicine in Atlanta has shown that it is possible for some information to be inherited biologically through chemical changes that occur in DNA. During the tests, they learned that mice can pass on learned information about traumatic or stressful experiences, in this case a fear of the smell of cherry blossom, to subsequent generations. According to the Telegraph, Dr. Brian Diaz, from the Department of Psychiatry at Emory University, said, "From a translational perspective, our results allow us to appreciate how the experiences of a parent, before even conceiving offspring, markedly influence both structure and function in the nervous system of subsequent generations." Such a phenomenon may contribute to the etiology and potential intergenerational transmission of risk for neuropsychiatric disorders such as phobias, anxiety, and post-traumatic stress disorder. This suggests that experiences are somehow transferred from the brain into the genome, allowing them to be passed on to later generations. The researchers now hope to carry out further work to understand how the information comes to be stored on the DNA in the first place. They also want to explore whether similar effects can be seen in the genes of humans. Professor Wolf Rake, head of epigenetics at the Babraham Institute in Cambridge, said, however, further work was needed before such results could be applied to humans. He said, "These types of results are encouraging as they suggest that transgenerational inheritance exists and is mediated by epigenetics, but more careful mechanistic study of animal models is needed before extrapolating such findings to humans."
This experiment by the Emory University of Medicine in Atlanta is the main study that shows how the genetics of one generation can pass down its new coded DNA to their offspring, so that the new generation now has their phobia. Though this study was on mice, it was found that it can be possibly parallel to a human study. Since our ancestors didn't have any housing, food, water, or clothing, they had to survive by any means if possible. It was survival of the fittest. Whoever adapted the best to their environment would ultimately survive and recreate. In order to be the most fit, they needed to protect themselves from danger, which in that case was spiders, snakes, large animals, and other things that could have possibly killed them. This relates to why most people are afraid of the things like that now. Scientists believe there is a relation to the things they tried to survive from and why we're scared of them now. Some say that they had to encounter dangerous animals every day, so now that they fear those animals, it is encoded in our genes and now is passed on through generations.
The amygdala is thought to be the primary area of the brain responsible for fear conditioning. And the classic model of how it does this is as follows. The unconditioned stimulus of the foot shock travels through the spinal cord to the thalamus and the cortex, which then both project to the lateral nucleus of the amygdala. The synaptic inputs from the unconditioned stimulus of the shock are strong enough to excite the lateral amygdala neurons, which in turn results in the activation of neurons in the central medial nucleus and produces a fear response.
The researchers found that the gene stathmin, normally presented in high levels in a part of the brain called the amygdala, controls both innate and learned fear. Stathmin is required for the induction of LTP, long-term potentiation, in afferent inputs in the amygdala. It is essential in both regulating the innate and learned fear. Stathmin is crucial for the regulation of cell cytoskeleton, as well as crucial for regulating cell cycles. Researchers are still trying to figure out what gene is fully in control of fear and phobia, but with stathmin they are one step closer. There is recent evidence that phobias might be linked to the mutation in chromosome 15. This defect might make people more susceptible to developing phobias. It is thought that the phobic individuals are born with the mutation, but it doesn't manifest until later in their life. Chromosome 15 spans more than 102 million base pairs and represents more than 3% of total DNA in cells. Scientists have also connected phobias with sperm cells. These alone have the ability to deliver the message of fear, according to the scientists at Emory University. The DNA in sperm cells was imprinted with the association of fear. A gene that codes for this molecule that detects the smell of orange/cherry blossoms carried a chemical stamp that may have changed its behavior.